Greetings, family. Today we want to focus on who is the Almighty and is He the Creator? That's a very important concept I think we need to address. We talked about it once before on another one of our lectures. If you have the time, watch it. The one we're talking about.
That's the video of the origin of the black man and black woman, right?
The origin of the black woman and the black man. So we went into it there. We want to address this concept again, very important, because when you hear terms like the Almighty, obviously it brings us to religion, religious concepts, and religious theology. So, and it's a challenge because religious people teach that the God of the Bible created everything.
That's right.
They teach that the God of the Bible is omnipresent. They teach the God of the Bible is omnipotent, all-powerful. Omnipresent means everywhere. And omniscience means He knows everything. So they call Him the Almighty. Now here's the problem with that. When you look at the word all, and we'll put up the word all for you, what does that word mean? We teach, and I mean the word is, when you look at all is, meaning that when you have all, you can't add to the all, because where would you get it from? And you can't take away from the all, because where would you put it? And now this is something we've taught for years in Nuwaupu, taught by the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z York. He's been trying to explain this concept for years, for decades, about the all.
Yeah. I was even surprised when you showed the book that was put out in 1972. You know, way back in the Ancient days.
Yes.
Was that book, Allah Should Not Be Called God.
Why Allah Should Not Be Called God.
Yeah, you put that in there.
And the master teacher explained Allah is really the all. In Arabic, we said al-Kalum, which meant the all. And so, when you say your God, or the God of the Bible is the Almighty, that means that you can't add to the all, nor could you take away from the all. And so one of the things that we used to teach is that there's one thing the Creator could not do, and that's be less than Himself.
Okay, you said the Lord is our Creator, right? Who created Him? Where did He come from? I mean, like, where is He from?
Now, this is the most interesting thing about that question. Ready? Ask it again. Who created Him?
Yeah.
Now, when you get that question started, we got to go back to who the who was. Correct? So now we move from Him to who. You see that? You missed what I mean. You said, okay, we're talking about God. He created us. Who created Him? You see the statement? He has fixed that question, that anybody who asks it will be glorifying Him at the point of the question. Who is the ancient Arabic word for He who is. So when y'all in English phonetics ask who created Him, you're still saying He who is. And when you get to the point of questioning who brought about God, whoever brought about God would be God, correct? He would be greater than God to create God. And you keep on going on to this question infinitely. Well, then who created Him? And then who created Him? And who created Him? And who created Him? And who created Him? The trick of it is, our concept of creation is the manifestation of something in some form. Right? Something that we can either see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. That is creating something. You see? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. The source of the universe created nothingness to place something in. Do you understand?
Yeah. I know it says without mother, without father. I know I read that, but I'm saying what is he some force that like pulled itself together or what? You know, it's not.
That's what I was trying to explain. But you gotta take your time to understand this. Our understanding of creation is things that we either see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. You understand that? Now, the Almighty had to bring about a state of in order to become. And that's as far as the English will take it. He has to create. I'm not going to stop, but I mean as far as that wording. He had to create a state of in order to become. Tangible enough for us to calculate his presence. You understand that? So therewith, the essence of his real being does not fall in the realm of what man understanding as existence. He had to create a state by which man could identify with him and therewith pick up attributes as like a being. And see, that's beyond. You got years yet before we get to that understanding. I can only tell you about it. One day you may. Some people in there understand what I'm saying. He had to create a state of before he could before he can bring it into existence. You understand? Because human beings identify things by what they either see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. But the ultimate of the human being is the reactionary nerve system to things they see, hear, taste, smell, and feel, which they don't see the nutrition in an orange. They don't see it, but they eat the orange, the essence of the orange. So when the orange was manifest, we learned that in it was an essence that would nourish the body. The Almighty did the same thing with his existence. He made an existence necessary for us to filter from it the nutrition of spiritual upliftment or Holy Spirit. So it's not no time in creation anywhere where he was created, because to be created means that you have a creator. And if he has a creator, then that is the creator. And if someone created that, then that is the creator. Now, to make it easy, he is the all. Can you take away from the all?
No.
No, because you can't put it nowhere. Can you add to the all? No, because you wouldn't get it from anywhere in order for him to be the all. So to try to be a part of a circle on the inside and understand the outside of the perimeter is impossible while you're in this state. You understand what I'm saying? If you're inside a room, you can't see the bricks outside. If you're outside, you can't see the bricks inside. And if it's transparent, then there are no bricks. So to comprehend the existence of the Almighty, you have to get outside this house that you call the body. And then you'll be outside looking in. But you will never be able to comprehend the presence of the Most High while inside the body. You merely can bite into his orange and get nourishment from his Holy Spirit. You understand? It's not a simple. You asked a biggie. That's what they call a biggie. That is a complicated question with a very simple answer. You cannot think past what you can think. Okay? You have a watch? Does it tick or is it battery operated now?
It's battery operated.
Okay, there was a time when a watch was a cue to us of the existence of two worlds side by side. So the devil took the tick out of it. Your watch ticked, and the tick was calculating time. And each tick was a moment, correct? It went tick-tick, 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 tick-tick. What he did not give you is what was happening to that space between those ticks. He only told you about the ticks. And he calculated seconds and minutes and hours and months and days and years and months from the tick. He never mentioned what happened to the tick in the space between the ticks. That is a coexistent ethic world right next to this one. He has combined the two now, and time is zooming past us. Now that he's taking the tick out is why you say, time is going by so fast. It was just Friday the other day. Now it's Friday again. Time is zooming because there's no longer a clock in existence. The devil have taken the clock out so we would lose the ability to calculate time. But the clock, the tick, is the physical world, and the space between it is the etheric world, or the world where the angels dwell. He does not want you to be conscious of that, so he keeps you in tune with the tick, not the space. You will never be able to understand the space while you're living by the tick. I'm trying every kind of different way I can to make you see this. But it's basically beyond simple human comprehension. It takes a lot of spiritual knowledge to understand that you cannot see the outside of a circle while you're inside it. So you cannot see the perimeter of the universe while you're standing in the center. I see that. Okay?
When you look at that concept of the all, right? Mm-hmm. And then we look at the Bible gives us examples of Adam and Eve was in the garden. They ate of the forbidden fruit. It said God comes down to the garden asking, where are you, Adam and Eve?
Yeah, walking in the cool of the day. Right?
Yeah, walking. So that's, I think, Genesis chapter 3. Whatever he's talking about, so now God has a location. In order for God to have a location of the Bible, then the God of the Bible couldn't be the all. Because remember, the all is. You can't take away from the all, because where would you get it? You can't add to the all, because where would you put it? All is. It can't have a location, because where is the creator? Name a place the creator isn't. So he doesn't have to go anywhere. The all doesn't go anywhere because the all is. So when the Bible talks about God went to the garden, obviously the God of the Bible is not the all. He can't be the all. The God of the Bible can be within the all, like us. Humans, we're inside the all. We are a part of the all. And so when you read what it talks about in the book of Job, it says that the devil says God and the angels are in heaven, and the devil comes among God and the angels.
There was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves, and the devil was amongst them.
Yes.
They went to present themselves to the Lord.
They're in
God
heaven.
Yeah.
So God has another location.
Yeah, they had to travel to meet him.
Exactly. Location. Now the God of the Bible is in heaven. What did Jesus teach? Jesus taught the same thing in the Lord's Prayer. I had to learn it. I had to go through what they had me going. We had to go through communion.
Okay.
We had to go through communion. I was a part of the Lutheran church. That my mother had me part of the Lutheran church. And he made us go through the dawn communion, and we had to memorize the Lord's Prayer. I remember it to this very day. Yeah, we had to memorize it. You know, that whole thing. He's our Father. And this is Jesus teaching his disciples how to pray. And he says, our Father who art where? In heaven. Holy be thy name. Thy kingdoms come. Thy will be done. Blah, 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 blah. So now Jesus says God is where? In heaven. A location. So the God of heaven can't be the all. That's a very important point that our people need to get, because the other question we have in the lecture is the all the creator? Because they try to teach that the deity of the Bible is the creator. But obviously, if the deity of the Bible, the God of the Bible, isn't the all, and if the God of the Bible isn't the all, then he can't be the creator. And that's a hard concept.
That's very hard.
That's a hard concept because our people have been taught just the opposite. That the God of the Bible, who arts in heaven, is the creator.
Well, see, one of the things it makes me think about when you brought up the three, because we said it before, the three attributes of the all, being all space or everywhere, all matter, all powerful,
Yes.
and all time, all knowing. When people say that, like the God is everywhere, God is, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, why do you think they say that, don't really understand it?
Because they don't know what the word omni means. The word omni means, we'll put it up, the definition, but the word omni means all. And then when these religious theologians, when they're teaching about these things, they're not defining clearly for the people that all is. You can't add to it, nor could you take away. All doesn't have a location because all is. Everywhere. There isn't any place it isn't. So you can't have a location because it's everywhere. So when you read about the different, in the Quran, it talks about Allah is in Jannah, in heaven. You be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah. That means that Allah isn't in a Jahannam, which is hell in Arabic, right?
They say Allah isn't in hell.
No, he's not in hell. He's not in Jahannam.
Yeah.
He's in Jannah. You with me?
That's another location now.
That's it, right? And he obviously wasn't on earth with Rasulullah Muhammad.
Because they were trying to seek him, right?
Because it said that what? How did Muhammad get introduced into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
How?
Yeah.
Well, what? The angel Gabriel had to come down.
So the angel Gabriel had to come and tell him about Allah. Not Allah.
It's like, where was Allah? Allah should have been the one to tell him.
Exactly. So obviously Allah wasn't there. Allah sent Gabriel. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
So Gabriel is a place in a location where Allah is not. Because think about it.
He should be coming. If he had
Why
to
would
speak,
he need
why would he need to come?
Gabriel?
Because he would already be
He
there.
would be there. He would speak through Rasulullah Muhammad if Allah is everywhere.
Oh.
But again, that takes a level of reasonability that our people. That's what religion twisted our brains upside down and made us not look at reality of things and deal with irrealities, things that didn't add up, things that never made any sense.
Well, I want to go back to this language right quick with this because it makes me think, like in our language, Nuwaupu, we have two words for in English all, like kalel and then pa'ut. And it makes me think, when most people use the word all, we'll use it as casually as saying all of us, talking about a group.
Right.
And then we'll use stuff like almighty, not realizing those are two different concepts. Like, I wonder how
Because
that...
they're thinking, when they use the word almighty, they're thinking in a context, he's the strongest one. But they use the word all.
Yeah.
So they're not realizing when you put the word all there, all might, then that means that anything that has might
Is a part of this.
is yes.
Okay. I guess it would make more sense that they said the most mighty, not almighty.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
When you use the word all, and here's the thing, people don't realize, where did they get this concept of all from?
You mean the Bible?
Yes, but never really defined it.
Hmm.
They gave a limited concept of it. But this is an ancient African teaching that the Creator is all. And we're all a part of the creative force. The waters are new and new. I was listening to that brother that I was just telling you the other day. Asar Hotep of the Amara Squad.
Yes.
And he has a video on YouTube And I thought it was pretty cool what he was doing, because he was saying it was about, is the black man God? And he was talking about when he was looking at African languages and identifying, according to the different African tribes and cultures throughout the continent, their concept of the deity, of a deity.
Okay.
And it always, and he kept pointing out, it goes back to the all, this creative force that's a part, everything is a part of it. The all. That's an African concept that was taught in ancient Kemet. That all is. You can't add to the all, because where would you get it? You can't take away from the all, because where would you put it? Right? And so, what's the first 5 books of the Bible?
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
Yeah. And who received it?
Moses, according to that.
And where was Moses educated and raised?
Egypt.
So this concept of the all is an Egyptian African concept. But when it got into the Bible and people started translating and teaching these concepts, the deity of the Bible isn't the all. That's not to say that the deity of the Bible doesn't exist. The deity of the Bible does exist. The God of the Bible exists. It's just that the God of the Bible is not the creator. The God of the Bible is not the all. Because there's so many species in absolute nature that come into existence automatically and spontaneously within absolute nature, within creation itself. What would be the point of this deity creating gnats and bacteria and all types of existence? For what purpose? These things just exist. People don't even think about the balanced universe, right?
Yeah.
All the stars and galaxies out there, which then means you got tons of planets out there that science now is proven to exist, right?
And we could never see with our naked eye just looking out in space.
Right. So now, think about it. The God of the Bible that only focuses on the planet Earth, and they try to teach that this deity created everything, then why are we learning about other civilizations throughout the balanced universe? What would be the point of creating this galactic heavens universe with all these galaxies, all these stars, all these planets, and there's life everywhere, but then the creator, that we know the creator who gives us his holy book, and he only tells us about life here on the planet Earth.
Yeah,
but he created life all throughout the universe, and don't tell you about the existence of all this other creative species.
No, that wouldn't make sense at all.
That's because the God of the Bible is not the all. He didn't create the balancedness of the universe itself. I know they teach that in their religion, but he didn't create it. And that's why they don't talk about it. They didn't talk about it. What they did was they confused an African principle with a European construct. Because where did this concept of the God come from? It came from the hearts and minds of the Greeks and the Romans. Because they were educated in these African principles, but they had no concepts of it. That's why when you search and research Greek history, you will find out the Greek gods were copies of Egyptian deities. And they just changed the names.
So I guess you take your principles and you have people that don't understand anything about the principles. They just copy it, just copy paste
from another culture. That's where they get it from. They borrowed it from another culture, and they never comprehended the culture that they borrowed it from. So when the Egyptians were talking about Amun, or they were talking about Tehuti, or they were talking about Aset and Asar, the Greeks hearing these stories just thought these were superhuman beings, extraordinary individuals, godlike beings, like they show you in, the movies, right? Zeus and Thor and all those guys. Yeah. That's how they interpreted them. And that's what created your Bible type stories. That kind of mentality.
That it's some being that exists.
that
doing
that
all
has
these,
this power
yeah.
and stuff like that, because that was their misinterpretation of these African principles and concepts. That's kind of what that brother Asar Set, Asar Hotep, was trying to explain in his lecture, and he's right. I'm with him. What the brother don't realize is that the master teacher's been explaining that since the 70s. This concept of the all and beings within the all who are powerful beings. That's where you get the concept of a supreme being. A supreme being is not the all. He's just supreme among other beings.
Yeah, I remember hearing and even reading the master breaking down the difference between you have the supreme and then supreme beings and then all these other different beings, you know,
So you
other
get down to
layers.
human being.
Yeah.
And then the next is beasts and
Animal,
mammal,
yeah.
whatever. So it's just that our people's concepts have been thrown off. Is in essence what I'm saying. And so the concept of the all, the concept of the Almighty and the creative force. When you go into the Bible, it keeps giving the deity of the Bible, the God of the Bible. He punishes Moses' sister because she was upset with Moses for marrying an Ethiopian woman. Now think about this. And this just bugs me out, the Hebrew Israelites. It's like this deity has to punish someone. What's the purpose of punishing someone?
To correct their behavior.
But he's all-knowing. So
And all powerful. Well, if it's the creator, it created you to do that.
this is what they teach. So this deity already knows what the outcome is. The deity knows what the result of the punishment is going to be. Right? It's like, what is he trying to teach? The children or us creative beings it's trying to figure out, what is he trying to figure out? How can he be all-knowing and he's doing things like that, trying to teach us this and trying to analyze this? A scientist does that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Scientists will create an experiment and then you test the experiment to see if it works or not. You know, when they build new cars, they do that. They put them on the road, see if it's good, and see if it does this, and see if because you really don't know. That's why you test it.
And you have to make corrections.
That's why you do that, because you really don't know. An all-knowing being. Why would an all-knowing being have to make those type of decisions? That type of being wouldn't need to. Why would it need to interfere or get involved in the daily lives of the created species where it already knows what the outcomes are going to be? What sense does it make? That's the question. That's why we put out the God series. The master teacher wrote all these books explaining the God series. That's why we put out that book, and we'll show it. Is God an extraterrestrial? Is the deity of the Bible the all, or is the deity of the Bible a being that exists within the all? And if that's the case, if this is a being that exists within the all, and that being is not from planet Earth, but comes to Earth, like Jesus said, he's in heavens, that in heavens in the Bible is talking about star constellations. So he's in the heavens and comes to Earth, then by definition, that's an extraterrestrial. All we're trying to do is get people to question these concepts. That's all we're saying. We put out tons of books and literature as students of Nuwaupu to explain these concepts. And our people need to think, because we're worshiping these deities. And we've been worshiping these deities to what point? To what extent? Shouldn't we be worshiping a deity for the benefit of having a better lifestyle?
Of course. Naturally, should.
you would
If
think.
you're gonna do, yeah.
But yet, we as a people, as black people as a whole, we're suffering as a group. In fact, the only people that benefits as a group in Christianity are Caucasian people. Just like the only people that's benefiting in Islam as a group are the Arabs. So that God is beneficial for them, just like the Chinese. They're doing all right. They got Buddha.
Yes.
But what does the African have? The African has given up their natural way, their natural culture, their natural deities, and who they saw as a creator. And how has it benefited us? Worshiping Allah. How has it benefited us? Worshiping God. How has it benefited us as a body of people? Not individuals, because you have individuals say, well, God did this for me in life, and God did that. What good is God doing things for an individual and not the whole? Because I think that's what the Bible teaches, the benefit of the whole.
That should be nobody wants to, just be well off on their own. You want your family, you want your people. Okay, I have a question. What do you think is the first steps toward getting our people as a whole to comprehend the expansiveness of all, the concept of all, like absolute nature?
They have to question the God of the Bible. They can't even begin to get to the concept of the all until they start questioning the God of the Bible and what has the God done for them lately. What has the God of the Bible done for black people? For us to worship. I mean, look, there it is. The white Jesus. And so, this is what our people worship it.
We'll put that on the screen too.
Yeah, what has the white Jesus done for us? As a body of people. And listen, a lot of our people say the benefits is individuals that God spoke to my heart and God did this for me, God did. They're talking a materialistic advantage.
Yeah, because you always hear somebody say, well, I got this job, I got this new car, I got this promotion, I got whatever stuff.
How about knowledge about existence? How about that as a benefit? How about not being ignorant about your origins? How about that? How about the knowledge of solving all the disease on the planet? Wouldn't that be pretty cool if your God gave you that?
That'd be amazing if you
information?
could get that.
I'm like, they always talk about some car, some house, some job that God did
I mean,
for them.
to be honest, when we look at it from a holistic point of view, it's really always selfish things. It's always like me personally. No one words it like that, but it's like, well, me personally, I got this new thing.
It's always some
I got this
materialistic game.
Yeah.
And that's where the challenge comes into play. It's a materialistic game, and that's not going to change in the hearts and minds of our people until they start questioning the validity of the God of the Bible and start beginning to research what your ancient African ancestors taught. That all is. The Creator is all. And we had different ways to express this creative force. This mental that we said all is mind, all is mental. In its varying degrees. As we teach in Nuwaupu, from non-ether down to ghost. This creative force starts at 9, and as nature operates in cycles, it drops from 9 to ghost. And we're going to go into that in our next lecture. The nature of cycles. And what are the cycles of nature? Of this creative force. And because everything has a cycle and season. And then so we teach, our ancestors taught, we as a people have a cycle and season, that there's a cycle when we as a people are in our highest state. And we're able to achieve amazing things, like build those magnificent pyramids you see all over the world, right? To this day, no one on the planet Earth can figure out how we did it.
No, what do they call it? Part of the 7 wonders of the world,
Yeah,
and they're in ruins.
Can't figure out how we did it, right? So obviously we had a high culture and advanced technology. Now you get some smart alex say, well, Dr. York said it was extraterrestrials. Yeah, but those extraterrestrials that Dr. York said were black, with woolly hair. So I'll take that. That's all the smart aleck comments that people like to make. They neglect that part. You know what I'm saying? Because they trying to equal him with the Mukasu, the Caucasian, who want to say it's extraterrestrials. They want to bring in the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Pleiadians and black to white Jesus worship thing. But nah, we always thought it was always a black thing with us. And what we said was that we have black family members that live in other star constellations. Don't tell me that's far-fetched, because the Egyptians kept talking about ancestors from Sirius and Orion.
You know, that's okay. That's another question. I don't want to stray too far off the side, but since we're talking about all expansiveness, you know, these different star constellations, why do you think that's so hard? It's for people to catch on to, especially when you talk about concepts like the Almighty or this God that might exist off the planet and come here. I mean, we see stars every single night, you know, throughout all different levels of culture. You know, you have astronomy, astrology, all these things. Why do you think it's so hard for people to deal with that, this existence off of the planet?
When you say existence off of the planet, I'm not sure.
Okay, you just brought up extraterrestrials, that we have family in
You're
Orion,
talking about
Cyrus. There are a lot of brothers who talk about Egypt, yet they don't go into that.
You talking
There are a
about
lot of
extraterrestrials.
There are people who study Dogon, talk about Cyrus. They don't talk about the
I think it's not so hard for black people to accept that extraterrestrials exist. It's just that, so what? I gotta pay my rent. Unless they coming out here and pay my rent and put gas in my car and pay my electric goddamn bill, I don't want to hear about no damn extraterrestrials. Black people, we have it so hard.
That's not important, right?
We're struggling so much. Exactly. But you know what's crazy about that kind of that mentality? You would think they take that mentality with the Bible and their religion. I got no time for this mystery God, ain't paying my rent, and blah 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 blah.
I was gonna say, we're struggling anyway.
But the preachers, that's the uniqueness of the black preacher, because the black preacher, that's what he's been preaching, that God is going to solve all your economic problems, and our people fall for that. That Reverend Ike guy back in the day, he used to say, he used to sell those prayer cloths, and if you buy that prayer cloth, the green prayer cloth, that's going to give you money.
Really?
Yeah, man, Reverend Ike.
Oh, wow.
And you got all these preachers with money, with names that relate to money.
Yeah, plus Reverend Price. And
Reverend Price, Cleflo Dollar, Eddie Long
money.
So it's like, all this monetary reference. So this is a materialistic God that the Bible pushes, unfortunately. And so again, that's all I wanted to do, is stimulate the minds of our people once again, that the deity in the Bible is not the all. The deity of the Bible exists within the all. The all is the creative force. This is an ancient African principle. This is where the Europeans who gave us these religions got these concepts of this God, because they misconstrued what the Africans were saying when they said Asar, or they said Aset, or they said Shango, or Batala, or Yemiya. They misconstrued our ancestors' teachings and created these monotheistic religions. Monotheistic, mono, one, theos, one deity. That's a confession that there's other deities. That's in the freaking Ten Commandments. What they say? What the God say?
You should worship no other gods before me.
Yes, and if there's no other gods existing, then what's the point of having such a commandment? Yeah. Make no damn sense.
Or what? The idea of the Most High is the saying that there's other beings on high to be ranked against.
He's the Most High. The highest of what? The highest of who?
Yeah.
If there's no other deity that exists, what would be the need to compare? Yeah. What's the point in telling your subjects, the human beings, not to worship other gods that don't exist? What's the point? Because he's saying, I had to do it because they're worshiping rocks, and they're worshiping stones, and they're worshiping buildings, and whatever the hell they were worshiping. And I'm like, the God who created them knows that that's nothing to worry about. But yet, he has to tell them, don't worship no other deity. if the deities didn't exist, this is right knowledge. Right knowledge says that if a deity didn't exist, then there'll be no need for you to tell me not to acknowledge it. It's a moot point. But our people have lost their sense of reasonability. And that comes from slavery, by the way. Because the slave master just shoved that down our throat and told us to accept it without question, because you couldn't question it. And so our people over years through conditioning began to accept these concepts without questioning, and it just authenticated within ourselves. And we've been living and pushing these concepts ever since. Until this day and time, when right knowledge came, where we start questioning these concepts and said, listen, these concepts makes no sense. And what's the point of worshiping a God and you're suffering? And black people are suffering. So the question is, what has your God done for you lately? Maybe, just maybe, we want to take a look at what our African ancestors taught. Because the God of the Bible is what, 6,000 years old?
Yes.
That's what they teach.
That's yes.
6,000 years old. How old is the African woman and man?
Infinite. Well, at least on this planet, what they teach, we're here for
teach
millions of years.
At least millions of years old. So why would I give up a million-year culture for a 6,000-year history?
I guess the only way is if your memory got wiped.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So I wanted to leave it at that. We'll follow this up with talking about next the cycles of nature and how these cycles of nature come about as a creative force. That's it.